So you were one of the first people I wanted to call, really, because I know you're a really interesting person. I get a bit of flack for talking too much on the interviews, so I thought, well, I'll get Tim because he's bound to out-talk me,
Oh, I'll
right?
fucking out-talk you, mate.
so I figured you'd keep me
We'll
in
have a
check
talk
a bit.
off.
So
You know?
yeah, definitely. You mastered a song by the Walk-Off for me once, so that would be quite apt, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So, So, getting into it. So obviously you are Tim Turan, legend of the Oxford music scene, and to those in the know about mastering, a true expert at what you do. So maybe you'd be the best person to explain to everybody who wonders what on earth it is. What is mastering?
Well, mastering is first of all, it's the final process of the audio production chain. After me, it's the shrink wrap, or what used to be the shrink wrap. You know, nowadays it's the Spotify or the Deezer or the
Indeed,
SoundCloud or whatever. But after me, it's the shrink wrap. And once it's in the shrink wrap, you can't fix it in the mix. So apart from getting the optimum out of the sound from the files that people send me, you have to make sure there are no clicks, pops, glitches, pop-ups, whatever.
Phasing.
Yeah. Oh, everything. There's a million different things that you have to kind of look out for.
So,
using these things that I was blessed with.
But in a nutshell, obviously, people, they do their recordings and then there's this other step and they feel like they've done their mix. I don't know, they've mixed it as loud as they could. So it seems like that's quite a loud song. It sounds like I kind of want it. Why would I need mastering? So why do we need mastering?
Well, you need it because you need to get the optimum out of what you've got, not just make it loud. Loud's easy. You just put it through a thing and make it loud. It doesn't mean it sounds good. It just means it's loud. Now, I've had a miserable time in mastering for the last kind of 15 years with this thing called the loudness wars.
Yeah.
And a lot of mastering engineers kind of get the blame for it, but it's really client and especially label requests. I work for a lot of major labels and they want their stuff to be bigger and fatter and louder than the other labels' stuff.
Yes.
They also want it sounding bigger, fatter, and louder coming off the radio, coming off the internet.
Sure.
It doesn't make for pleasant listening, Lee, I'll tell you.
Are these different processes for each, like you say, for the internet, for CD, for vinyl? I know that vinyl and CD are different.
I do now. I have a very special process for vinyl. I cut a lot of vinyl, you know, for a lot of different bands, and there's a special process that I've developed over about the last 4 or 5 years, and also in consultation with a lot of cutting engineers to deliver really brilliant sounding files that will cut beautifully to vinyl. And it's quite a process. I have another way of doing it for streaming. Download, you can just use the CD quality files. Streaming is something different. Streaming is just what you want to hear on demand now, whereas download is you drop the file down into your hard drive, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm doing vinyl, CD, download, streaming.
Yeah. Do you end up doing FLAC stuff and anything like that? Do you end up doing, like when like high-end audio files and things like that?
Yeah. We do high-end audio, FLAC stuff, 32-bit floating point files.
Right. Yeah.
Really high bit rates, but then people don't have the gear to play this crap back. Sorry, crap aloud.
I think crap's okay, isn't it? We'll have to let crap go, can't we?
I've got to learn to say poo and not the other word. Yeah, I'll find substitute words.
yeah, definitely.
So you've got to. Yeah, there's high fidelity files. The real biggest problem really with the sound quality of audio is the uptake and the longevity of MP3.
Right.
Now, MP3, originally developed by the Fraunhofer Institute in the early 90s, was a way of getting audio files, which are large things, across the internet, which was really slow. This was when we were using floppy disks.
Of course. and dial-up and things like that.
Yeah, it was absolutely, it would take, 3.5 months to upload your 3-minute single. And so the MP3 format allowed you to move files on the internet. Now, we've come a long way with internet speed and file sizes, and we can do away with MP3 now, can't we? Because
if only.
In essence, you've got this beautiful, you sit here in the studio listening to this beautiful high definition widescreen version of the sound.
Yeah.
And then what you send out to the public is a bloody thumbnail.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the equivalent of a thumbnail.
Yeah, I always say it's a bit like a photocopy of the thing done on a fairly shoddy copier or whatever. But I mean,
like an early iPhone photo of a photocopy.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So so in this process, obviously, like that's similar to the way that when CDs were first made, there wasn't really a new mastering process taken to make them sound good on CD. They just kind of took the master that they made for the vinyl and slammed it on a CD, and that didn't really make a very good product. And obviously CDs came quite a long way from that. And so what you're saying is that obviously the file hasn't made the kind of evolution that people should probably be using. Do you think that's why people have taken to streaming so much?
Yeah, well, one of the things when CDs first came out is that everyone went running for the masters to transfer them to CDs so that you could have, the current catalogue of the day. Everyone wanted it on CD. Yeah. So you had to go and source the masters for these things, whether it was Dark Side of the Moon or whatever it was,
Sure.
CDs kind of hit the shops in I think it was February 1983. So we had to source all these masters, and very often the only masters available were pre-EQ'd for vinyl cutting, which meant they had a little emphasis in the top end.
Yes, sure. Everything to counteract or work with vinyl and its qualities.
Yeah, you lose a bit with vinyl because it's an analog process, and you will lose something at every duplication stage.
Right.
So that's what happened. They kind of used these masters, and of course CD, it gives you full bandwidth right down from the very lowest bass frequencies right up to the threshold of human hearing and beyond.
Right.
And so these masters sounded bloody dreadful, really harsh, nasty. And so CD got a bad name. All CD was doing was faithfully replicating
vinyl, but on a weird, quite strange.
What was on those tapes. That's all it was doing.
Oh, was it what was for? So when, sorry, I don't really know this, but so did they use the same masters that they'd use for vinyl for tape, or was there a separate mastering process for each of those back in the day?
They essentially made one master, and it just got copied. And they would make copies of the master. And every time you made a copy of the master, you would lose something. And so they'd make a copy of the master, and that would go off to the cassette duplicators.
Yeah.
And then the actual master, the one that came off the mixing desk on the big fat half-inch tape, that would go off to the cutting room to cut for vinyl.
Right. Yeah.
Now, a lot of times it was 1/4-inch tape. The transfers were made not using the right noise reduction, because we had this whole noise reduction issue. You use like Dolby A, Dolby B, Dolby SR.
Hence why you used to have the little button on stereos to actually do the noise reduction yourself. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was an encode decode system, and it's inherently lossy. You are going to get losses and faults, etc., on the encode and then back on the decode. So same with VHS video.
For the person who's going, what's an encode and what's a decode?
Well, it's you encode something on the way in to a system, and you effect your process, and then you decode it on the way out so that you can get the original signal back, plus the whatever you did to it, which in this case was noise reduction, removing hiss. Now we have bloody plugins on digital audio workstations to give you hiss and to give you vinyl crackle.
To give you all the old effects. Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
It is
get
crazy,
a warm
really.
Vintage amp. Well, Yeah, okay, I guess. Weird.
Yeah.
What, is this in the box in the computer? That's where it is.
Yeah.
I thought
I mean,
everything's digital in there. How can it be?
if you want genuine analog saturation, what you need is this kind of stuff here. Genuine, big, fat analog valve gear.
With knobs and faders.
With knobs and dials and valves and, you know.
Yes,
that's what I use to work the magic in here, plus extremely high resolution plugs. None of my software.
And all your leads, all gold leads and everything, aren't they?
Well, no.
Really?
When I was teaching at university, well, I still do teach at university, but they were saying about, do you use gold connectors? And I said, well, everything's only as strong as its weakest link. And the thing is, you can have the gold connector, but what about the wire in between?
That's in between the gold connectors, right?
Yeah, what if that's made of like crap iron or something?
Sure.
You need gold throughout the entire system in order to have a faultless chain. So
gotcha.
Everything in here is hardwired, so it's not plugs in sockets. It's soldered in, and it's all hardwired, so we don't get any crackles.
So you don't really need,
no dodgy leads, none of that stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. Right, okay, wicked. Yeah, okay, that makes a ton of, like, suddenly, it's weird. I never really paid any attention to that part, but that makes so much sense when I think of all the weird buzzes and crackles I've got off of just actual connections themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
your
hardwiring
on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah. So hardwiring just must totally eliminate so much of that stuff. I never really considered that. Yeah. That's interesting. Cool. Well, I don't know how interesting it is to everybody else, but I found it interesting.
Well,
I'll see if Grace if Grace found it interesting, it'll still be in, like, on the short show.
As I said to Ronan when I started writing my articles for Night Shift, you can either drink a bottle of Night Nurse or listen to me talk about stuff.
It's up to
Take your pick.
Well, I chose it, so I've obviously.
Well, there you go.
It's down to everybody watching whether they blame me, I guess, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've been doing it how long now? This is.
Okay, right. 1974.
Was the first record you mastered?
It was the first time I bought a special device, which was a 12 bands per channel graphic EQ with my paper round car washing and milk round money.
Right.
That's what I used to do as a kid. I was very industrious. I really would get up at bloody 4 a.m. and do a milk round, and then finish that at 6 a.m. and do a paper round straight afterwards, and then wash cars on the weekend.
Yeah, sure.
And earn money. And I went out and bought this 12 bands per channel graphic equalizer, and all my mates came around and they said, what the does that do?
Is that? Yeah.
And I said, it makes your records sound better.
Yeah,
and I've been doing it ever since.
Wicked, awesome. Yeah,
I used to charge people 50p to copy their records onto a cassette through my graphic EQ with my settings, because it was the only way you could hear music in the car other than the radio.
Yeah, of course.
Had a cassette player.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense. Yeah. I my Walkman was my best friend for years.
Yeah.
So I mean, I bought I bought my first 4-track and then went and recorded all the local bands and stuff as like.
Excellent.
That was my first experience, and then I kind of I remember when I came back to Oxford after studying at college, doing music tech and everything, I bought my little Roland and started recording bands. And soon after, I was at your place making them sound better, making my recording sound better.
There you go. Yeah. But then that's it.
Palatable,
that's
at least. Yeah.
That's the process. You look at the film industry. You've got these fancy Panaflex and Panavision cameras. You've got fabulous set designers and everything, and you've got all that stuff in the film industry. And then it goes for post-production.
Yes, sure.
Where you color grade it.
With the color grading, you can do so much, can't you? Yeah, so
exactly, and that's what I do. I color grade it and get the best out of it, and get the dynamic range right as well.
Right.
That's
a comparison that actually, strangely, I think people, maybe who are watching this, I hope, will actually get, because like color grading in recent times has actually become like a more popular issue in film, like, oh, look at this really grey movie compared to
like Harry Potter films or the
yeah.
Lord of the Ring films.
Yeah.
You know, they've all got
Yeah.
that look.
Yeah.
You know.
So, and people know a bit more what it is now, I think, than and still mastering is a bit of a mystery, I think, to a lot of people. Like Howie Weinberg, we all see his name on the back of a CD, but I don't know if anybody knows. They just know he's on the back of good CDs. I don't think they necessarily know what he does. So yeah. So this is the thing I wanted to ask you. I remember, I can't remember, maybe it was on the Peach and Black Prince podcast, and they were saying, well, so as you're like with, say, Howie Weinberg, he's 70 something now, and obviously his hearing might not be it might be amazing, but like it might not be. Is there like, do you feel like there's a shelf life on mastering, or have you got like, there's a certain amount that you do without even listening to it, really, in terms of knowing
if you can hear the stuff, and my clients are still amazed at the stuff I pick out in their mixes, and these are mixes that they've been listening to for bloody ages. You know, they come out of the studio, and you know when you come out of the studio and you've got your mixes of your new track, and you listen to it again and again and again and again and again, and then you come out here and we'll bung it on the mastering system, and on the first listen I'll go, ooh, what's that? And they'll go, oh, I never noticed that. How did you hear that? And the other thing is, it's a kind of it's funny actually. Professor Martin Clunan from the University of Glasgow interviewed me, and we got into the subject of hearing as well. And I said to him that when I was 8 years old, at school, we used to have this medical. I don't know if they do it anymore. In fact, there are certain tests in that medical that you probably get arrested for if you did now. There was a thing called the cough and drop, where the nice doctor would hold certain parts of you.
Yes, I remember that all too well. Yeah, I'm not too young for that.
Yeah, what were you testing exactly? Is what I want to. How good is your coughing or something? I don't know. But anyway, they also look in your ear hole. So he went to yank my ear, and he got his little torch thing, and he said, "Good Lord, I can see your eardrum." You know, and I haven't got much of an S bend or a kink in my eardrum. See, so I used to be able to hear. Well, yeah, because I used to sit and watch the TV. Old TVs were cathode ray tubes, and they used to oscillate at 15,200 cycles a second, 15.2 kilohertz, and it'd be this little birdie right up the top that no one else seemed to hear. It said, "It used to drive me mental."
Yeah, I'd hear it as well. Yeah, I've always been like, and I'm always hearing things, and I'll hear if someone drops like something like way behind, like I'll be, oh, I think you just dropped something, and it's like, how did you hear that? And on a busy street or whatever. Yeah, so
I've still got that, Lee. I still, you know, in 21 days' time exactly, I will be celebrating, although not very much. I will be celebrating my 60th birthday.
No way, really? Yeah, well, many happy returns for that. Wow.
Cheers, dude. I'll be 60 in bloody lockdown. I was hoping to have a giant party.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Well, when you do have it, let me know, and I'll try and come up for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely, Lee. I will let you know, man.
Because I would never have guessed that, being honest. I guess it makes sense if you think about things, but like you seem pretty full of life at the best.
Well, there's
the sleepiest of times. You always wake up, everybody. So.
Yeah, well, when I was young, 60-year-olds were definitely very old people.
Sure.
They, you know,
now
I look at my
70-year-olds are Mick Jagger.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, they're heading for 80.
How are they? Jeez.
You know, they're heading for 80. You know, one of my heroes, Mr. Zappa.
Yes.
He was born in 1940, so he'll be 80 this year.
Wow, yeah.
But he continued to live. You know, had prostate cancer not come along and gone. So,
yeah, enough of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, indeed.
So yeah. So you know, there's a wonderful piece of interview footage actually with Mick Jagger when he's about 28, and the interviewer's going, "Do you honestly see yourself doing this in your 40s?"
No.
Well, What else is he gonna do? He's Mick Jagger. He writes and sings and plays songs.
He's
That's
still,
what you do.
I mean, he's still. I went to see them 2 years ago at the Enorma Dome in London, and you know, like even from my place up in the gods, when he came out on that solo thing, it could be no one else. It was definitely him. Every bit. He's a little short of breath and stuff like that, but you know, I'm a bit short of breath, and I'm half.
Remember when they did Glastonbury?
Yes.
Yeah. Now I watched that round at Mark Gardner's house with a few other people, and we were all sat there watching it. And someone made some comment about, "Oh, bloody hell, Rolling Stones and everything." And I went, "Well, hold on a minute. When I'm 75, I want to be like that."
Yeah.
I want to be.
There's a lot of sadder examples.
I want to be. I don't want to be that sad, grey, half-dead person in the post office queue.
Yeah.
You know, age 75, and that's it, and you're grey, and you're dead, and you're gone.
Yeah.
And you're just drudging around. I want to be Jumping Jack Flash.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, sure.
Age 75. So...
you're preaching to the choir. So,
well,
Peter Pan.
Well, that's. I don't, is Clint Eastwood still making films, right?
Yes, indeed, and really good ones still. I just went to see his most recent one, the one with the dude. It's just a dude's name, and it's about the guy who got accused of. He saved people from a terrorist attack, kind of thing, and then he got kind of accused of being part of it and everything. It's really good film, really good film. So he's lost none of his ability to do so. So
no,
as long as
Hockney's still painting, right?
I really had hopes and dreams of watching Prince go into his 60s, 70s, 80s, just still defying all expectation. Do you know what I mean? So
I wonder what he'd have been doing now, Prince?
He'd probably be wincing. He'd probably be going, "Oh no, what's going on now?" But he'd be all right because he's a hermit already. So he'd be like, "I'm just in Paisley Park as usual." So that's fine. So
it's all right. I mean, I get to work on a huge range of material. Whether I'm doing devotional choral music, or I had a #1 urban hit a couple of years ago with a London artist called Bibbs.
Right, wicked.
Yeah. And
I was going to ask you, could you give us a bit of a weird whistle-stop tour through like a load of records that you're proud of that you've done? Bands
Dancing with the Antichrist, Marilyn Manson.
Right,
that got me a name in the very early noughties. I already had a name doing bands like the Damned, the Ruts, the Buzzcocks, the Ramones.
Awesome.
I also remastered entire back catalogues for Thin Lizzy, Status Quo, Motorhead, Susie Quattro, the Osmonds.
Slade.
Oh God, Slade. In fact, their box set is sat just there. There it is. Look there, Slade.
Yes, yeah.
When Slade rocked the world, and I did every single album they ever did.
Right, wicked.
Mastered. I know it. I had Jimmy Lee sat here in the studio with me on those sofas.
Awesome. Sorry, I just remembered that one. That was one of the box sets that you'd done. So, but carry on.
Yeah, but Jimmy Lee was hilarious. He came in and he said to me, "I had a pawn shop with John Bonham because we were out selling Led Zeppelin at the time."
Really? Wow.
He said in 1972, Slade were outselling Led Zeppelin. Jimmy Lee got into.
Did he say who won the fight?
Well, he reckoned he did, and you know what? They were a bunch of brummy hard nuts,
brickies in makeup,
and steel factory workers and stuff like that. You look at early photographs of Slade; they were a skinhead band, man. They were a bunch of tough nuts. So it's people only know Slade, in their silly costumes.
Sure, of course, and they have this one lasting memory of "It's Christmas."
There you go, But I mastered that single.
Amazing.
With Jimmy Lee.
That must be cha-ching.
I wish I got the money, but
I know, but can you imagine? It must need a new master every year, right? Like you should just say, guys, it's going to need a new master. I think you send it in every
it's
Christmas.
there. I did a good job on it. They loved it. Jimmy was really nice.
You should not do too good a job though, because then they'd have to keep on coming back every Christmas.
They might go somewhere else, and then someone else will have their name on the record.
True.
I'm not having that.
That's true. No way. Yeah, definitely.
But my name's Susie Quattro was brilliant. I spent a lot of time on the phone with Susie Quattro.
Yeah.
And she was one of these people who'd sort of be going, "Oh, Tim, Sugar Lumps, Honey Bunch," I'm thinking, Susie Quattro.
You just did the massive Supergrass as well, the big orange.
I did indeed. I did all the original content. In fact, if you wait there, Lee.
Oh, look at it. It's so nice, isn't it? It's like I saw it and I just had to step away because I was really. I don't have the money at the moment, so yeah. But
Luckily, I got sent a complimentary copy from the record label. I worked
a mammoth
solidly for 6 weeks.
Wow.
The original content on that with Mickey Quinn. Mickey was here for most of it, about half of it.
Record, awesome.
Yeah, had a quick chat with Gaz as well because he supplied a lot of the material too.
Right.
And of course, I've done Gaz's first solo album, Here Come the Bombs.
Right,
and
cool, wicked.
I did a lot of all the extra stuff for the I Should Coco 20th anniversary reissue in about 2015.
Awesome. That must have been fun going through all of that. That's like the heyday of Oxford. I was just listening to a few bits earlier, and it just all comes flooding back really the whole time. When you listen to it, it's like a time portal to that exact kind of Oxford It's really.
You've got the original albums. You've got the original albums in the box. They were already remastered anyway.
Yes.
Back in I think 2015. But
that's right. Yeah.
All the original content. So we've got Roots and Vines, which is a lot of the really early demos, mini discs, cassettes, everything that Gaz and Mick have pulled out of their basements. And
anything with Tara on it?
Huh?
Anything with Tara on it? Does it go back to when they were?
Because I'll go through the credits and check and have a look.
Yeah.
But
that'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
A lot of rarities, B-sides, outtakes, monitor mixes, tracks that didn't make it on the album.
Yeah.
But the actual gold for me is the 4 CD set we did of live stuff.
Wicked.
Which was like Glastonbury '97, Reading, Tea in the Park, Jules Holland,
wicked.
Ratcliffe Sessions, Ronnie Scott's, fantastic.
Some of those, that early Mark Radcliffe session, that first one that they did is so good, isn't it? That used to be I used to have that on a cassette tape that was on the back of, I'd have I Should Coco, because I had it on CD, I'd copied it to a tape, and I had I Should Coco, and it went just over the side, and then I had the sessions of that, and I think I had a Slade session at the end of it as well. But like that like 4 songs or something, isn't it? And it's just so good.
But it's great chat in between.
Wicked.
And Mick gave me this cassette recording of it, but the speed of it was slightly elevated because whatever machine it had been recorded on was a bit bollocks. And
yeah, sure.
And so everyone's got sort of slightly higher pitched voices, and it sounds almost Pinky and Perky-ish.
A bit really a bit like We're Not Supposed To on the. People will be thinking that's their real voices.
yeah. But it's just brilliant thing to work on. But it's the same thing with Status Quo. When I was mastering all their stuff, there's one of their albums, a really famous album of theirs called Pile Driver.
Right.
And I was going through the masters for Pile Driver to remaster that album, and I found at the end of the master tape this dirty joke that wasn't on the original album.
Oh, wicked.
And it was about a girl and some coconuts on a desert island with someone. I can't quite remember the
content, the
content of the joke, but I ended up having to talk. I spoke to Francis Rossi on the phone. I was going, Francis, there's this joke on the end, and he's going, oh, what is it? So I sent him a copy of it.
Yeah.
And he's going, I'd love to put it on, but if we did, the fans would go crazy because they just want the original record. So it never made it on the record. But it was this real gem that we'd found. Same with in 2014 when I mastered Ginger Baker's last record, which was called Why. Now, I've got that somewhere. But one secondly, I'll see if I... This is a brilliant record, mate. Oh, there we go. Look at that photo.
Oh, wow. Awesome. He's such a cheery guy. How was he to work with? Did you have much like chat with him on it?
He was supposed to come up to the studio, and I spoke to him on the phone, and he said, no one will give me a lift, Tim, and I can't drive in the dark. And this was like sort of early March in 2014, so it would be dark by the time you drive home. He lived in Maidstone at the time.
Yes, that's right.
I had his mobile number. I still got his mobile number, actually.
Right, yeah.
Even though the poor bugger's passed away. But that was the last record he ever made.
Yeah, that's such a special thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know,
and as a drummer as well, because obviously I haven't mentioned that you're a drummer as well, so that must be an amazing thing to master his record in the first place, like let alone, you know.
Yeah, and he's a real hero of mine. The funny thing is that he toured that record, and he put me and Ro on the guest list for his O2 show.
Yeah.
And he says, "You come and see me after the show, Tim. We'll have a good old natter. And you smoke cigarettes, don't you?" I went, "Yeah, I do." So he's going, "Great, we'll smoke indoors." It was absolutely brilliant.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, so
we
went to the O2. He's started playing the show. It was wonderful. He still had that feel and that touch.
Mm-hmm.
But after half an hour, he got off the drum kit and walked to the front of the stage, and he gets the microphone. He goes, "I can't do anymore. I'm fucking exhausted."
Yeah.
And so that's it. And I'm not doing my drum solo. It's just not on. Do you hear? And he started freaking out. Everyone's going, "All right, Ginger, okay." And that's it. And off he went. His manager came up to me and said, I said, "Right, can we go back and say hello to Ginger?" He said he'd, like to say hello and everything. And we went back, and he was too knackered.
Really?
Cool, yeah.
It's I think it's quite a hard thing for musicians once they get to a certain age. I remember seeing Peter Green and feeling it's a difficult thing to say, but almost close to guilty for him being still out doing the rounds, and when it felt like he was kind of being walked on. And I recently saw Mavis Staples, and she literally had to be walked into her spot, and when she tried to walk her own way, she completely got a bit kind of like, "Oh, I've walked into the drum kit," kind of the amp area. "Oh no, where am I going?" kind of thing. And so I kind of like, it's like, so I like, in a way, like, I'm glad they get to do their thing and everything, but it also feels like it feels almost like part exploitation because on the audience's part, because you're making that demand of that person maybe beyond their capability. And I don't know. It's one of those things I'll eternally debate. Yeah, I mean, they probably don't need much coercing. As we've both said, we both want to be jumping jack flash when we're 75. So, it's that weird line, isn't it?
They're just not up to it. It's like the body can't keep the demands that the mind is making.
Yeah. I understand a lot about that from obviously, doing what I used to do in Smilex, and now my whole body punishes me on a daily basis for every single move I ever made.
Still playing rock drums as well. Age 60, you suddenly realise you're age 60, and it's just like, oh yeah, I am actually 60, aren't I?
And you're still
like
playing
that when I was 20.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And you're still playing in the relationships?
Oh yeah, very much so, yeah.
Also, you had a gig that was cancelled because of this, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I still get my email updates from Richard, so...
Yeah, Richard's just joined Facebook, actually, so it may be the end of days.
It must be. It must be.
Coronavirus, nothing. Richard Ramage on Facebook. Oh, my God.
There's a meltdown, yeah.
The world is about to end, yeah.
So, I mean, presuming the world doesn't end, have you got lots of future projects coming up? Obviously, you said not much has changed for you, so...
No, not really. No, I've got tons of work coming in all the time, and it's international as well. A lot of international bands. I have a lot of bands in America, and Australia, and all around Europe and Japan, South Africa.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of bands in, because what happens is that people see your name, or they've heard your name on the back of records that they've grown up with and loved.
Yeah.
They want the guy that did that record to do
Of
their
course,
record.
makes sense.
And through the joy of internet, you can just
that's all connected now. Which is
send me the
really
files.
And obviously, you have a proper dynamo in the form of Ro. Anyway, she's like absolutely amazing. So like,
well, she has her work cut out for her, because she's got to deal with all the admin of that. So there's all the, the booking them in, dealing with their requests, what kind of record.
I like how you say she has to, because you don't want to.
No. I'm sat in front of a terminal. I'm sat in front of here making it all happen.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Like the income, though.
Keep your head in the spot it needs to be. I think don't confuse.
It's a lot, because I cut 422 titles last year. That's more than one a day, Lee.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's an insane work rate.
Yeah, I've cut 18,000 records in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you not thinking you might do 20 and then go, right, that's it, 20,000?
I might just say, right.
Spring it on the person. Like, and you should spring it on the 20,001st person as they come in. Say, sorry, actually, I decided I'm quitting.
I'm not doing it anymore. I've actually worn my ears out.
Look, they're not there anymore. There's just these smooth...
They're not working. They're just decorative little shells now.
Smooth panels where, like Marilyn Manson on the Mechanical Animals cover, it's all smoothed over.
Yeah. Or the ears on that ridiculous film Waterworld.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, there you go. You take 10 years off your life. Yeah.
So awesome. So have I asked all my questions? Let me just check. Oh yeah. So so what is the, obviously you've kind of said, I guess, but like what's the best bit and the worst bit of your job? The worst bit probably being trying to navigate the loudness war.
Navigating the loudness war is kind of where it's at, but I mean that's easy to do because you give it to them fat and loud and they love you and pay the bill. The worst aspect of the job, the worst aspect of the job is dealing with certain major labels and bands managers who suddenly think they're engineers,
right?
And then you find out that they can't, and then you say to them, you know what the word manage means? Let's think of another word that means the same thing. It means like cope, isn't it? Can you cope? Because you can't cope, can you?
It's that's a really good that's why I used to like
a manager is a coper. Can you manage? Can you cope? And in a lot of cases you can't cope.
You've got a lot of these little pearls that I used to pick up one at least every session. So okay, and the best bit I guess is the working with amazing artists on amazing music.
And getting your name on the record, because with a lot of the Slade and Status Quo and Thin Lizzy, you think Thin Lizzy, Jailbreak, what an amazing record. I had that as a kid. I remember buying it the day after it came out, and my name's on it now. I did the reissue of that. Yeah,
amazing.
And so same with Status Quo, same with Slade, but the Osmonds, that's quite funny. I had a phone call from Jay Osmond when they were touring. It was about 10 years ago now. I did their back catalogue, and Jay Osmond is the guy who does the high vocal in Crazy Horses. Here they go, smoking up the sky again. World's first environmental song, I'll have you know.
So it is,
Crazy Horses are cars here, and he goes, there they go, smoking up the sky again. So it's a kind of environmental thing, and he just says, "Oh, thanks, man. We've never sounded so good." And it's like, cheers, that will do.
Awesome. You can use that on the. Thanks, I'll take that.
I've got quite a few lovely quotes. When I did Ginger Baker, I said to Ginger, "Can I have a quote for the website?" And he said, "Yeah, it's better than good." That'll do. And then Graham Parker, Paul Samuel Smith from the Yardbirds as well.
Right, wicked, yeah.
Some great work with him on a couple of film soundtracks.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
There was the
so yeah,
Graham
you've
Parker
got
stuff. What was that you were doing?
that was everything. His entire catalogue and a great big
Wow.
box set. If you look at my website, I said to Graham, "Can we have a quote?" And he said, exquisitely mastered by Tim Turan. I can't think of a better job being done, and I thoroughly recommend his work." And I thought, bloody hell,
Can't
thanks,
ask for
Graham.
much more than that, can you?
Yes, well, you go and have a look on my website. There it is.
Yeah.
He said that.
Yeah. Awesome.
But the client
How long
list
was that? How long was that job?
that lasted about 2 months.
Wow.
And you're doing almost a record.
You're just
a day.
doing a life, and
2 days.
you're doing someone's whole life, effectively, aren't you?
Yeah,
Everything they poured
sparks to, yeah.
That's in a way that's like I guess it's a heavy responsibility as well when you take on this thing where you're like,
oh God,
so I'm now representing this guy, what he's poured his whole life into for his whole life. It's the whole lot, and I'm in charge of making people.
You get that with a lot of big catalogues, though, Lee, because what happens is I spoke to one of the record label bosses, and I said to him, I think it was when we were doing the Slade catalogue, and I said, I've just mastered 28, 29 records for Slade, their entire catalogue. And so, how do you know if a campaign's gone well? And he goes, we look at Amazon reviews.
Wow, is that it?
Yeah.
That it?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how we know. You can't always tell from sales, but if you've got 600 people on Amazon giving it 5 stars,
right,
you know you've done a good job. And
right,
there's probably other sites as well they look at, but that was the kind of gist of it.
That's crazy, isn't it? I never would have thought.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they said we look at Amazon reviews and we have a look and see what people say.
I mean, you very rarely hear I was just thinking then, and you very rarely read a review, even of a remaster edition in like a Mojo or whatever, and actually hear much about the mastering. It's even though that's one of the main things that's actually any different.
Well, it is the main thing because the record's been out before, isn't it? It's been reviewed before.
There might be a couple of extra liner notes, I guess, and things like that. And they usually get a mention.
Yeah, they'll get someone like Charles Shaw Murray to write an essay or something,
And generally in the review, they'll say, with some lovely revealing liner notes or extra photos from the sessions and everything, but very rarely get into
tracks that they add on the end.
Yeah, but they very rarely get into whether it's actually mastered very well or not.
Which is ridiculous, whereas the people who review on Amazon, that's the first thing they go, because they've just had to repurchase their whole record collection again. Yeah. So if you're a rabid Slade fan, you've already bought all the records, and then they probably got reissued on CDs, so you've got to buy them all again.
Sure. And
then they've been remastered on CD, so you've got to buy them all again. Yeah. So it better be worth buying. It's the same with what's sat on the shelf there, all these like here. This is all the Madness back catalogue.
Right, yeah, I forgot Madness. You did all of them, yeah.
Yeah, did all the Madness stuff. And, and so, you're working on stuff like, like My Girl's Mad at Me, Embarrassment, Night Boat to Cairo, One Step Beyond.
Yeah, crazy.
It Must Be Love.
Yeah.
Our House.
Yeah,
these are major
hits. Huge. Yeah.
And you can't get them wrong. You got to twiddle me
buttons, of course.
And make them sound like God.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So they never need doing again, Lee. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
It's done.
That's great. That's wicked. That's like, I mean, what a cool thing though to have it. It's your final say, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is nice. It's like
and it was unattended. I think I had one phone call with Suggs just to go over some bonus tracks, but most of the time I was dealing with the label.
Yeah,
which was Salvo. Union
Do you find
Square
that
Records.
Generally you end up talking to one member of the band, like?
Yeah. Otherwise, but it's like when I was doing all the Damned stuff, it's really funny. I had Captain Sensible here for a day. Right. And then a couple of days later, it was a double live album for the Damned. And I had to get the running order had got messed up on the liner notes as opposed to what I had on the audio.
Right, sure.
So I said, well, the liner notes say this, but the audio is in a different order. So I said to the record label, let me talk to Ray, because that's his actual name, Ray Burns.
Sure.
Captain Sensible. So I rang up. I said, hello, Captain. Just need to get
He said what? Sorry, it's a joke. I said you said hello, Captain, and he said what?
Well, yeah, you can. Hello, Captain. Hello.
Said what?
So I said, can you send me through?
So,
Can you send me through the running order, the actual running order that you want it in? Because I can't really swap the tracks around on a live record.
yes. Yeah.
You've got to have it
Yeah,
in the
it's
order
going to
that you
sound
play the
weird.
bloody
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
So I waited a day, and then he sent me an email through, and it was just a picture of him feeding the ducks. So this is the kind of.
So you guessed.
You're trying to get sense out of people sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, you might, yeah, he's called Captain Sensible quite ironically as well, so, you know. Yeah, I mean,
he was very funny.
Yeah, they were really nice and funny. We played, Smilex played with them when they were choosing their supports, like all through in different cities and everything, and they chose us, which was really complimentary. And then they were really friendly and nice. And even Dave Vanian, who seemed to be in quite a bad mood that day, was even really nice to me. So I was kind of like, oh, that's really cool. He's not letting his whatever he's got going on, he's not kind of carrying it across to the support band, which was sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's good, man.
They're good guys.
It's like Jean-Jacques Bonnel as well. He was really nice. I did his 2 solo albums, Euroman Cometh.
Right.
And so after Brexit, Euroman went
really?
Yeah, right. And Anjou Parfait.
Right.
And he was very nice. He spent half a day with me, just going through, making sure I'd got everything I needed. Had a quick listen to what I was doing, and then he shot off on his motorbike. It was really pleasant.
Awesome.
You know, plus I supported the Stranglers in 1980 at the Hope and Anchor when I was I was signed to a band who was signed to EMI at the time.
Right. Yeah. Your origin being in punk bands and stuff, right?
Yeah. I'm a Londoner, mate. You know, I left school in 1976 as a 16-year-old. So I mean,
when I was born.
What a time! What a time to be out in the world, and that's just kicking off. So, and I saw all those bands. You know, I saw the Pistols and the Damned and the Clash and the
amazing.
And because they were the bands that were just around at the time, and they weren't playing Hammy Odeon and Earl's Court and Wembley Arena. They were playing the crappy little pubs.
Yeah, I think
to get in, you know.
I think that age is kind of like, it's strange because that kind of even carried right through to the 90s, where, you know, in the early 90s I was seeing bands in small venues that would go on to be world conquering and stuff like that. But I don't know if that kind of has carried through into this century so much. It feels like a lot of the maybe because there's a lack of bands, but like
everything's safe as milk, Lee. You know, you can't go. It is. Safer. You can't go. It is. It's as safe as milk. You know, you go to a gig and there's this sort of trench where there's a bald-headed guy with a wire coming out of his ear going, "Stay back," or "Bad things. You will have bad health. It will be unsafe." You look at old pictures of punk gigs, like when I saw the Ramones in London, and everyone's just on the stage, like you can hold the mic stand. You know, and everyone. You know, the dancing, people talk about the mosh pit. Well, you know, I used to come back from punk gigs and I'd put my elbow in enough people's faces and enough people put their elbow in my faces. And I remember coming home one night when I was about 16, 17, and my mum waited up for me and I got back. I was sort of bleeding and I had a fat lip and my nose was over here. She's going, "Oh, no, what happened?" I was going, "Well, I was dancing." It was the pogo, it was called.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There's one thing that's disappeared completely from punk culture, which I'm really glad about, actually, and that's all the gobbing.
Oh, right, yeah. What's his name always hated the gobbing, didn't he? Ian
Dury.
Right.
Hated the gobbing.
Oh, did he really?
Cut out the fucking spitting like this. Otherwise Norman will come down and sort you out.
I love Ian Dury. Yeah, what's his name? Johnny Rotten used to hate the spitting as well, didn't he? So
yeah. Cut it out.
I used to do a bit of spitting in my gigs, but I don't know. I don't want to be held responsible for anything I did in my gigs. So
Well, it's all health and safety now because you'll spread
I know,
germs.
yeah. No, can you
Germs
imagine
are bad.
a Smilex gig would be the worst thing in this current climate?
Yeah, bloody would actually. Yeah.
It's all rubbing up against people and
Yeah.
invasion of.
And then spitting at them. Yeah.
There's no such thing as social distancing at a Smilex
Throwing a bit
gig.
of blood around as well, Lee. You know.
It's all too true.
It is. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, awesome. Right, so I'm worried that this thing isn't going to, because you're supposed to only have about 40 minutes on Zoom. So
Right.
what I'll do is I'll.
Oh no, this is Rose Zoom, and we've got the professional one.
Oh really? Oh, so you're allowed an extended. Okay, cool. Well, in which case I don't need to be concerned. Yeah, cool, wicked. Yeah. So what else did I have on my notes? Just done a lot of it, you know.
I'll tell you a catalogue I've got coming up.
Yeah, go on then.
19 album catalogue for Rick Wakeman.
Oh, really?
Now, here's a thing that you will probably never have known. Rick Wakeman did an album with another celebrity. I'm just going to go and get the... This is who Rick Wakeman did this album with. And this is... There you go. See if you can see that. There is Rick Wakeman.
With?
Norman Bloody Wisdom.
Really?
Yeah.
The first track's called Don't Laugh at Me.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Really hilarious.
Can you believe?
Yeah, awesome.
Wonders will never cease.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine Beyonce with Bernie Winters or someone?
Yeah. That might be coming up. You never know. Oh, well, I guess Bernie Winters still around? I don't know. But yeah.
Jim Davidson and Kanye West.
Well, you know, you say not, but you know, you never know. These are strange times.
They are incredibly strange times. But you know, as Osprey always used to say to me, well, there's now as queer as folk.
Right.
And I was going, you're right, Mark. You're absolutely right.
You're living proof.
As mental as people.
And you're living proof as well, Osprey.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He is, yeah. So, you know, there is nothing as mental as people, you know.
Yeah.
Animals they just get on with doing what animals do.
Yeah, I mean, we might even be better off for having this get the mad humans out of the way for a little while session. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, one of my other projects is getting my own solo album together, which is essentially my thoughts, on my thoughts on life, the universe, and everything.
Doing what you be doing on there?
I'm on the mic,
drums,
mate.
Drums, vocals.
No, I've got someone else going to be playing the drums.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to be up the front, holding the mic, spitting my words. You know.
Really awesome.
Yeah, I started doing this when I was about 18. I used to set my drums up at home, do a beat, and then rap vocals over about not having enough money to score dope.
Wicked.
You know, and my girlfriend's gone and all that kind of stuff.
I think that's what songs are still primarily about.
My parents and school is crap. But I used to, and I've got this old cassette of one of my things, and I was thinking, my God, I was rapping in 1978 to my own drum beats in my bedroom.
Really?
So I wrote a load of stuff. Mark Cope's involved.
Oh, wicked. Awesome.
Copey from the Candy Skins is involved. He was the one that encouraged me to do it because he kept laughing at all the words I was coming out with. So I said, right, okay, I'll put them into songs.
Awesome.
So we've got that coming up. I've got loads of work here. Going to be doing maybe one or two little bits and pieces with Mark Gardner.
Oh, cool. Yeah, of Ride.
I see a lot of Mark and Loz anyway because of my space nights that I host.
Because of what, sorry?
My space nights. I host space nights, well, I used to until bloody lockdown.
Yeah, sure.
It was about one Friday a month. My room would be full of, you know, the sort of cream of Oxford musicians, and we'd sit and watch NASA space films and documentaries and stuff like that.
Oh, really? Wicked.
So you'd have Radiohead's Plank, for example. Plank would come along.
Yeah.
What still does come along, and Copey, and Mark Gardner and Loz and
Yeah.
Smithy from the other dramas, and
Right, wicked.
so there's a few of us who kind of
Yeah.
do that. So yeah, I've got my own solo thing, going to be putting that
Awesome.
together.
Well, yeah, you could just rustle up a decent band out of all of them lot, really, can't
I
you?
can ask anyone in town, mate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Not sure of people. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, that's what I love. That's one of the coolest things about Oxford, is that it builds this kind of network that you have immediately. That's why I kind of, after being in Manchester, I came back to Oxford to do bands, because it was like rock school. I could see what you had to do, and as we've had this conversation a million times, things like Night Shift and everything really lay it out for you. First you do a demo, then you get a demo review, you might get a gig with your demo, then you get a gig review, and then you kind of move up to this thing and this thing. It's all laid out for you really easily in a strange way in Oxford, I feel like. So
yeah, no, Oxford is that's why I moved from London. You think I came from the centre of the music universe, aged 23, thinking that London was just absolutely rubbish, because punk came along, then it was post-punk, which was pretty good, and then it was kind of new wave. So you had punk, post-punk, new wave, and then all of a sudden everyone started putting on their grandma's clothes and pressing buttons, not playing drums. Everyone looked like they'd fallen in the dressing up box. So yeah, this whole new romantic thing, and all of a sudden the drums were little plastic discs that went.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
And everyone started sort of singing in that bizarre male tenor voice.
Right, sure.
So I just thought, this can't get any worse in London. So I met Ro in 1983, and she was from Oxford. So I started coming up to Oxford in 1983 to visit, see my girlfriend, and went to see a few gigs. And I went to the Jericho Festival, I think, in 1984, and I thought, you know what, this place is really cool. It's very naive, but it's very cool. The people are lovely, the musicians are top notch, and they're incredibly accommodating, friendly, and nice, which is not what happens in London.
Yeah, sure.
They are unaccommodating, not very nice, not particularly talented, and not very friendly. And so I completely kicked my entire life into touch and moved up to Oxford. So that I could stop suffering what was the pretending to be a music scene in London. And let's face it, London's never had a scene since punk, not a proper one.
Right, yeah. I mean, it tends to go and grab its stuff from everywhere, and then that makes what the new thing is, isn't it? So, And mostly London is actually filled with bands trying to follow that to get signed, that kind of just drift around for quite a long time and then do a new incarnation when a new trend drops and everything like that. Yeah, so
you got your grime and rap scene.
Sure, yeah. I mean, this is obviously talking more about the band thing.
Town. That's in every town. Someone was saying to me about rock and roll and rap, and I was going, well, rap for a lot of people is kind of poor people music, because they can't afford Fender Stratocaster guitars,
of course.
synthesizers, and
interestingly, I was having this conversation with a kid the other day, and he was saying, I think it might have gone full circle, because nowadays to be a rapper, you have to buy a beat, or you have to get in a band situation with producers and other rappers anyway. So it's the same as getting in a band, really. And with a band, you have like people to split the costs. As a rapper, you're a solo artist. You also spend way more on your videos and spend way more time on your social media rather than going out and doing this kind of organic thing. I think the thing has almost turned over to the point where now it'd actually probably be cheaper to just get in a band and buy a guitar and make some noise.
Yeah, with the rap artists that I've worked with in Oxford, a lot of them, they've just got a laptop like this and a mic and a little bit of cheesy software like Ableton or GarageBand or something, and they're knocking out really decent stuff. And it's not a lot of outlet. It's a cheesy microphone and a laptop.
Well, as you know, I signed Half Decent from Oxford, and he's just, I think, one of the best producers, like, going full stop.
Yeah, he's a classic example.
It's just like incredible what one person can do in their bedroom now. But obviously they still need to get that final master.
They do.
So
otherwise, you won't be getting the optimum out of it, will you?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right. So wicked on that.
Duraclit out.
Your turd polish.
Oh yeah, and that's not cheap these days, Lee.
No. And also, it's hard to get shipped in as well now that we've got the whole,
It is hard ship, but I did a bit of I did a bit of panic buying and hoarding of the old turd polish. So I've got stacks of it in my larder, or is it in my Rolls Royce?
Yeah, well, keep it separate from the other stuff in your larder, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, Tim. Thank you so much, Rick, and thanks for giving up the time. And long may you be.
Thank you for asking me, mate.
No, I knew it'd be an entertaining ride. So, Rick, awesome. You take care of yourself, and long may you be staring at the stars whilst also looking down and mastering them.
Staring at your backdrop, mate. Lovely.